Get started. It's 6 o'clock. There are a couple of things that I'd like to bring to your attention. First of all, if you've not signed in, there's some sign-in sheets over there. And it's strictly for those of you who may need an alibi later. That's always my opening line. But it's nice to know if there are new faces, who they are. I'm horrible with names. I'm proud I remember Tammy's name. Only took me 11 years. And that's true. I was going to announce that this is not being videotaped. The Public Affairs Department has such a workload this year. They informed me that there won't be video or digitally recording any ward meetings in the future, but we do have someone, Mr. and Mrs. Weeks, who's here. They run an interesting website. What's the name of your website?
Biloxi Politics Forum.
Biloxi Politics Forum. It's probably about Biloxi politics. But we appreciate you videotaping this meeting tonight. And if you'll send me a link when you have it up and going, I'll be glad to put it in one of my e-blasts. Those of you who don't receive my weekly newsletter, if you'd like to receive it, just be sure you put your name on the sign-in sheet with your email address, and I'll add you to the list. You'll get it every Saturday morning. I do want to acknowledge some folks who are here this evening. If they'd stand, Wendy Lolly. Now, who is Wendy? Wendy's not an elected official. She's one of those bureaucrats now. Wendy is the Ward 5 representative on the city's tree committee. Have you heard about the tree committee? This is year 2, I think, for you. And I think we're still looking for a couple of representatives in Ward 6. Later we might see, I don't see Nathan Barrett, he's the supervisor for District 5. We're in District 5. He may be in a little later. I did want to acknowledge Rod McGilvery. Rod, if you don't mind standing. Rod is the new councilman in Ward 4. David Shoemaker. David, if you'd stand so everybody can look at you. David's the new councilman in Ward 7. Okay, all those housekeeping chores out of the way. I saw Mayor Gillich and saw Chief Administrative Officer Mr. Leonard. If you did not get an agenda, I placed them on the tables over there if you wanted to follow along. And this, of course, is your opportunity to ask the administration questions. If you have questions or issues prior to these meetings, I always, in my e-blast, solicit topics. And I added a few, actually got a recommendation or two that I've included in tonight's agenda. So if you get the e-blast, if I'm soliciting for topics and you'd like to see some follow-up or issues that concern you on the agenda, send them to me. I can't promise you that they'll be on the agenda, but I've always put them on the agenda. So, that being said, I'll introduce Mayor Gillich, and after him, CAO Mike Leonard.
Thank you. I appreciate everything. Touch base with everybody in the audience today, but so far. But I do have a grandson event in a little while, so I'm going to give you a blast, and I know we got a tremendous group that can address everything that might be coming up, but we're Mike and what Paul has noted in the comments. Ops Ferry extension, the budget, which is always a challenge with our revenues, matching revenues and expenses, and doing the job that we need to be doing. And I think it's a challenge in this day and time. But let me take the first topic. Ops Ferry extension is moving right along, as well as the possibility of October 16th, and we're groundbreaking with the Ops Ferry extension, which is you take Parish Road all the way to Highway 90 on Pops Ferry. Big deal, 27 million total all in to do that. But the beauty of it, it's going to do a tremendous amount. We talked about that, I think, the last board meeting. It's going to make that road eligible, or the possibility of it becoming a state road, which it is not now. It touches the major highway. And that, of course, opens the future for a new bridge, And that, you know, will put us all alive when we're driving over. But that is a big step forward. That was an effort between the state, of course, you know, our county, and representatives with MDOT and working together, along with another $15 million to keep the bridge that we have to live with, opening and closing the proper way. So that's a big thing to couple, you know, a better route north and south. At least while we're living with a 2-lane bridge, it'll be mechanically sound, so we don't have to have a crowbar open it and close it when it's hot, and or when it's cold. Whenever weather changes, it's been an issue in the last, right now in the middle of hurricane season. And I think we're fortunate, knock on wood, that if it turns into a major hurricane, it'll be around Apalachicola, I think I just last heard. So, you know, the things that we're going through right now with regard to keeping up with the work that needs to be done. For instance, the other day, I think today's challenges, and we revert a little bit back to our budget. This year, we paid attention to the challenges that came from keeping our employees, you know, moving forward. In February of 2023, we, in order to keep up with that inflation we experienced from 21 and 22 and 23, it's a 5% raise, but we also kicked our employees up. Personnel services is about 61, what we pay off people, about 61% of the total budget, but we, the minimum raise was 5%. We started with 3 and wound up at 5%, but then we also looked at a very important part of our entry-level laborers, those folks that do the work in the heat and do the work that has been a challenge and is still going to be a change, especially with the heat. We had one employee even one day say, "I'm too hot, I can't work." So those are the challenges we have to have. We've got to balance that with, you know, benefits and compensation. But as I said, there's about 103 folks that, a few years ago, we were making $12 an hour. In 23, it became $13.65 an hour, and now it's $15 an hour. So it's about 103 to hit that, and then we push the ones who have 14 and 15 up the road too. And also our you know, first responders were increased pretty good. So we're competitive, and I think we're trying to keep up with that inflation. The last inflation number was 2.9. I think it was published, but you know, today things don't go as far as they do, and we've got to be competitive. But bottom line, we added about $2 million for personal services in our budget. So thank the, you know, the council and of course our staff for putting these budgets realistically together. And we offset some of that $2 million by not buying as much of the heavy equipment, those expenditures, and maybe we could last, you know, another year. I think from the fire department, every little engine is about a $2 million deal. So again, the challenge is to balance the revenues and expenses. We didn't touch taxes again as far as the tax rate that we've been living with for the last 47 to 30.1 mil. Still, I think a very competitive situation. But that you know, that leads us to a couple of other things. You know, the homeless. We heard a little bit about what has been happening, and that's a challenge that, you know, over the last 2 years have been ramping up, and a little bit different complexion on what we have to deal with regard to hoping and helping the folks that are in a position that hopefully get the help that they need, and then help in a lot of ways. So we want to be in a position to assess what needs to be done with these folks, and get it to the people who can help them, and then keep everyone safe. And again, the Supreme Court has given us a little bit better position with regard to you know, insurance safety. Or if you're fearful, if some of these folks have been, you know, the panhandling, those things that really put people in an awkward position. So we're going to be very forceful when it comes to the ordinance we do have in place as far as loitering and panhandling and those kinds of things. You know, we talked about these at Hollis Field, or I understand it's Cavalier Park, I believe, that we made an effort to clean it. And I can't tell you how many Walmart or somebody else's grocery carts were stacked up there. So there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of effort that we're going to be very forceful with to ensure everyone feels safe and you know, doesn't experience some of the bad things that has been going on, especially in the last 12 months. But you know, everything is again a challenge. The older things get, from the roads, the underground structures, the substructures, the older it gets, the more it takes to maintain it. And again, the challenges we had with our crews, a number of vacancies in a number of departments, and everybody's experiencing what needs to be done in order to keep our people engaged in doing the work that they're supposed to. So that's my story, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you would have. Yes?
How do we go about if we are pro loitering and this and that? Because I live on Fairview, 5 houses off Pass Road, and I have a collection of photos when I'm at the intersection of Pass Road and Fairview of them loitering, sleeping bags, suitcases, shopping carts, right there.
Right.
I'm not fearful per se, I'm in my car, but my kids enjoy going to get ice cream from there. My husband would like to go make them play pickleball. I don't feel comfortable with us driving over there. So how would I go about calling that in?
Well,
And there is a sign posted there. Finally, the owners have put a sign, no trespassing. I don't know exactly what it says, but there is a sign posted.
we're in the process, and I think not just for, you know, all throughout the city, but we were actually identifying a place and some things we could do with texting. You know, if you see it, text it, and we'll talk a little bit about that, about how we get, you see somebody doing some bad things when they should be and not doing what they're supposed to do in public. We're trying to get a mechanism, something that's quick and gets to the point to whoever it needs to be got. Well, Chris, we'll let you address it, but we talked about that. If you see it, text it, and you know, everybody, almost everybody has the ability to say, hey, this is going on. And I'm not going to reveal too many details, but yeah, we need to get it, and you can call PD. I wouldn't
Because
call
I have called
911.
before, and this may have been before the legislation changed, but they've said that unless the property owner calls or the,
Right.
you know, there's something they can do, but.
Well, some of the things you're not supposed to do in public, that's against the law.
They're sleeping there, I mean, they're
Well, sleeping is against the law too, loitering, sleeping.
They do mattress and sleeping bags.
No, again, that's some of the things we got a little bit better ground to stand in order to move forward, and that's our plan. But communications is a key thing. We got to know about it first. And with the homeless detail, not so much out here, but you know, the downtown area where the tourists are, we got 4 good folks that have been engaged. We're trying to get them the ammunition, the tools, in order to respond.
There's a few of my neighbors here, and I know they can attest to you.
Yeah.
You see it, I mean, as I'm going to school, as I'm taking my children to school, I
Well,
see
you
it.
know, Todd can get you the ability to text it, and there's some things that, you know, that need to be changed. Yes.
Jared Westcott from Cove Drive. So the question, you mentioned the shopping carts thing that we're all familiar with. So I have a name, put it this way. I have somebody I know that works for Walmart, of course, and one of the things they mentioned to me is that Walmart has the ability, and some of you may have run into this in different places, to install the system that blocks the shopping carts so they can't leave the area. So my question to you is this, right? Walmart has the capability of preventing their shopping carts from ending up all over the city. They're abandoned property. It is still owned by them. It's throughout the city. At what point are we going to start fining them until they realize that they need to put a system in place?
Well, you know, that's a question I haven't been asked, but, you know, if I were my property, I would want to protect it. And you know, I don't think anybody around me, if you see pushing the grocery cart, has a need to the grocery cart. So I approach every one of them, you know, have taken something that doesn't belong to them.
So is fining Walmart though for their property being lost?
Well, you know, I'm not sure my legal team is not here at this point, but we're going to take what's necessary to, you know, to keep that from happening, and over and over again, up and down the city every day. And I think we've got the tools necessary to address it, and I think once we address it for 4 or 5 of them, and the word gets around, that'll impact it. That didn't answer your question. I don't have a Walmart answer to grocery cards, but it's not only Walmart, it's, other places that save a lot, some of those other things. Any other, yes?
Comment about Pops Ferry extension and stuff. I used to work in the Holiday Inn in Biloxi in the late 70s. And I remember the administration then saying, we're going to extend it all the way to Highway 1. That's been 45 years. And I know it's not, on top, but I know a big part of it is MDOT too.
Yeah.
You have to deal with MDOT.
Well,
They're a nightmare. Do you really actually have a time where you stick a shovel or backhoe in the ground?
I don't have the time, but it's gonna be October 16th. And it's gonna be right up the road. And probably at the same time, Rouse's will cut the ribbon too.
October 16th.
Okay, so you're saying the beginning of that roadway project is going to be on October 6th?
October 16th, groundbreaking. And there'll be a number of folks, and we'll get the word out. October 16th, and I think,
Then you're going to start construction?
right, it'll be on south of the railroad, and north of the railroad track, so it won't be.
Okay, I
Yeah.
see. And what are they doing with that building? Are they going to?
So it's gonna go, the building, where FEMA used to be.
Yeah.
It's gonna be to the west. They're actually, veer off to the west and cross, just to the west of the parking garage, crosses the railroad track, the parking garage on the Coliseum property. So that's a big deal. It's a big deal that has been talked about for a long time. But it's on the way. The funding is there. It's ready to go.
And that's a private consulting firm that's going to be working on that?
I'm sorry?
That's going to be a private consultant that's...
No, it's actually, it's a public, it's one of our projects, and I think we've got expended about $5 or $6 million already on it for acquisition of right-of-ways, and we bid it, and I think Nikkei's Brothers has a 2-year construction. That's amazing. I pushed, they told me I was crazy, tried to ask for a bid for 1 year, or 18 months to 24 months, but 24 months is that. That's what we're going to do with it. So 2 years you'll be driving on it. So, yep. Anybody have any other questions? Well, it's great to see every one of y'all, and I think the team is here. If there's a question, they should be able to answer. Good call. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Mr. Leonard, the
I
chief.
can't improve on that. We've got a great team of directors that are here to answer questions. Let's let them have the floor.
Okay, I don't want to forget though, because this was one of the questions, the topics that were sent to me, that was among those that I solicited. One was plans to beautify and maintain Pass Road from Keesler to DeVees Road. And I know people ask me occasionally what's being done economically. I don't know, Jerry could maybe speak to that a little, but you may have some comments on that. We don't have to do it right now. We'll move down the agenda and come back to that though. Parks and Recreation, Sherry Bell is director. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. As the mayor said, it's been challenging, making sure that we have enough employees. We just hired 3 more employees, so that's going to help us maintain our parks. We've just been given funding to improve a lot of our parks also. One of them is in your ward at Pennzoil. We're going to finally get that fitness equipment I've been trying for years to get. So what we're going to do is look at putting it around the track, but it'll be an arm type exercise equipment that you're already working your legs. So pickleball continues to grow. I'm sure y'all know that. I came the other day to Snyder, it must have been 60 people, huh, Tom? 45, 50, 60 people waiting to play. I mean, just all of them in here waiting to play. So we still got to work on finding and getting some more courts for that sport also. We've started getting a lot of tournaments coming our way for pickleball. We have one in October, correct me if I'm wrong, it's Southern Pickleball Association, which is a big organization. And they're going to come in and they're going to donate the money, right?
Yeah.
The money's going to be donated to the breast cancer awareness.
No, that tournament was the last one.
Oh, it was the last one? So this one, they're gonna make money? Okay. Okay, but they're very good. They're gonna help us with senior games this year. And I don't know if any of you all have been aware, but senior games this past year, we had 1,010 seniors participate in the various sports. 200 and something were in pickleball, 150 were in basketball, 100 were in volleyball. So I can go on and on. It's just become that big. So I think that's it.
Were there any questions for Ms. Bell?
Ms. Baker?
Yes.
Hi, we're from Ward 1. This has been going on since March. I asked about the fence at Miramar Park. I've sent numerous emails. Dr. Tisdale's the only one that's acknowledged that. And there's 2 sections of fence still down since.
Yes, ma'am. They went in there to get started last week, and they were sent the wrong equipment. So I just got an email from them today. They're going to start back on it next week.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I got a grandson that plays ball. In Miramar, we like to go down there and watch cruising coast because it's easy for us to get down there. There's no, I know you can't build a bathroom, but Port of Let's, we need something. So Bar don't have them, they had it during the baseball season. They have, and that's where they practice at now, they don't. And then we got Todd Miguez down there.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes it's open, sometimes it's not.
Those restrooms should always be open because someone has a key to open those. But I'll look into it, and I did question about Severo the other day. So,
That's not a good thing to tell them.
no.
And they'll do it.
But we'll look into that.
I'm sorry, I just.
No, I promise you, I just talked to my athletic specialist about Severo and restrooms. So, yes, sir.
Did you pay any attention to the Ward 4 election? Did you see that parks were a big issue?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. Swing sets with no swings, water fountains that don't work. I mean, I
Okay.
could go on.
I
and
understand.
On and on.
And-
Now, I understand there's a big bureaucracy and red tape with the city of Biloxi, but I don't think that's acceptable. I really don't.
You're right. You're right. I feel the same way about my parks.
Okay?
I feel the same way about them. I'm a Parks and Rec professional, and I'm doing the best I can.
I understand that.
So,
But this has been going on for years and years and years and years.
yes, sir, and I've been trying for years and years and years.
I mean, you see this water fountain? Do you know where that is?
Looks like the causeway.
Yeah, Causeway.
Yeah.
Do you know how many years it's since that water fountain's worked?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay.
And I know y'all are out there bashing parks, and that's fine. I appreciate I appreciate all the comments because it makes me try to get money harder, and and actually it may even help to get the funding, which I think it has. Like I said, this year I've been given $160,000 to make some improvements to the parks. Miramar, Pennzoil, Potts Ferry, Pointy Deck Plaza.
Well, these citizens pay property taxes. I pay a few thousand a year in property taxes, and we deserve better.
I agree.
It's a quality of life issue, and it needs to be addressed.
I agree.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any push to ever bring back the restrooms to Villa Park?
Yes, sir. I just met with a group.
You want to try about a basketball court?
Yes. We just bought some paint to redo the basketball courts. I was funded that, so we're fixing to redo those courts. And then I just met with an organization, a veterans organization that wants to come in and make the improvements, and they're in contact with the CD base.
Very top level question. I know you mentioned you've been working on things for years and clearly having issues getting after stuff that you want to get after. So my question to you is, what is limiting you right now from getting your job done? What is actually, is it a manpower problem? Is it a
Manpower and funding. And honestly, and me and Mike had this conversation, my parks have been vandalized so bad. And it's, we just Circle Park, they just tore the net down. They tore one of the rollers. So, and I don't know how we're gonna stop that, but, I'm gonna continue to try to make those improvements as I can. Yes, ma'am?
Pillar Park, they just tore down wood tennis courts and stuff. I mean, I know your parking's fixed, it is deplorable what's going on over there, but pickleball does bring a lot of money to the city.
Yes, ma'am.
In some way, shape, or form. And that would be a great place to put some pickleball courts. I can't imagine pouring some concrete, putting up some lines and nets is gonna cost that much money, you know.
Yeah, we looked at that, but there's an issue there. It sits on a spring in a dump site,
Okay.
and every time you do something, if you've noticed,
Right.
the rocks, the gravel and all that come back up. So what we've done and decided to do is just, we went out there and hydro seeded it last week, so then we're gonna go ahead and get the grass growing, and then we're gonna look at other opportunities. So, and pickleball was one of them. Yes, sir.
When was the last time you been down to the splash pad on the point cadet?
I went last Thursday.
Okay, has any improvements been? I brought my grandson about a month ago, and pad was picked up, you know, it was concrete exposed. I mean, the fencing was missing. And I mean, he ran through the orange fence that was there.
Yep, I just got 2 quotes to remove that fencing and put up chain link, black coated chain link fencing. As far as the padding, I put it in the budget, but I've just been speaking with a couple of playground reps that suggest that we remove that padding and come back in and break up the concrete. They have a way to do it, and then come back with some rubber mulch.
Okay, like I said, I was just wondering when was the last time you actually went down there.
I go by my parks just about every day, every other day.
All right.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Sure.
yes, sir.
I was out at Pops Ferry Recreation Area on Saturday. Between 9 and 11, it is chaos. Traffic, and there was one car in a ditch that was almost ready to roll over.
During football on Saturday?
Maybe we have too much going on.
Well, we have to use Potts Ferry for
And what I'm
football.
worried about is we need police presence to make sure that people do traffic right, you know, because people are trying to get on Pops Ferry Road. The stoplight goes so much, but there is, I mean, it is, I don't know, were you out there? Yeah, I mean, it was just,
There was so little parking, people were literally parking in the ditches.
I know, and I think we have that handled, because I've been in contact with
Okay, so
Mr.
maybe we-
D-Bank, and we're gonna get some signs up that says, do not park on the side of the roads, and they're gonna install those
wonder if
also.
we can move some of the activities. I know when I was a little kid, we played during the week.
That was our first opening day on a Saturday, and we'll play a couple more Saturdays, but they're playing tonight out there. So there's like 3 teams playing tonight.
I mean, it was, I mean, it's great to see all these people, but I mean, it is.
Yeah. We wish we could go back to the complex, but right now, you know,
Yes.
what's going on there, so that's why we had to move football.
I just wanted to make my observation. It was a tough thing.
Anybody else? I appreciate it, and I really do appreciate any comment that you want to send. I wish you would call me and talk to me, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Sharon Creel is the Director of Community Development. He's always here at every board meeting that I have, and most of the other board meetings that I attend, and there's always something happening in terms of development in Biloxi. So, Jerry, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tisdale. You gave me 3 topics to speak on here. The first one is economic development in West Biloxi, so I'm going to run through real quick just some of the projects that we either have recently completed or are under construction right now. We just recently completed the Reef Convenience Store, the Reef Express, at the corner of DeVees Road and Beach Boulevard. Also, the Classy Chassis Car Wash here at the end of Pass Road has just opened in the last week. The Bay Vista Apartment Complex on Pine Grove, and also Phase 2 of the Point Breeze subdivision, single-family subdivision, has just recently been completed. Projects that are currently under construction, the Lost Garden Villas, which is the townhome subdivision that's right behind the Reef Convenience Store. There are 18 units that are involved in that. They've started on 6 or 7 of those right now. New townhomes on Route Halifax. There's going to be 62 townhomes in there once that's completed. The mayor mentioned the Ralph's Grocery Store, that the ribbon cutting is scheduled for October the 16th. And if you'll notice, they're not only doing Rouse's there, they're redoing that entire facade on that building, which is making a tremendous difference in the look of that. The groundbreaking for the Potts Ferry extension, the mayor also mentioned that they're going to have those on the same day. Both will be done. The groundbreaking will be October the 16th, and Rouse's is scheduled to open on the 16th. We also have it's called The Current. It's an apartment complex that's being built right next to Ocean Club on the west side between Ocean Club and the cemetery that's there. 15 pickleball courts going into the old Hobby Lobby building. That's not going to take up the entire building. There will still be about 25,000 square feet left for another tenant to go into that location. The old Hooters location being converted into an Azteca. They're actually giving it another name other than Azteca. It's called Demaiz. I hope I pronounced that right. Demaiz is the name that's going to be assigned to that, but that's scheduled to open the first week of October. The Coral Breeze development, this is the homes that are being built there next to the Jubilee Hotel, just on the other side of Rodenburg. That project's under construction now. And then the Cristiano houses that are being built just this side of the Shell station, south of Highway 90 near Veterans. Proposed projects that we're working on that are going through DRC right now. It's called Small Sliders. It's a Sliders restaurant. It's going to be located right in front of Edgewater Village. If you remember where Cajuns was located there before, that's where this will be located. The Moffett Road Cottage Development, which is kind of across from Taco Bell on Pass Road. It's a wooded area that sits back off the road there. The Chick-fil-A we've talked about. A proposed hotel at Beach Boulevard and Gateway. Right now that's going to be a Spring Hill Suites by Marriott is what's being proposed there. It'll be about 100 rooms. And we're working on that now. Now that gentleman that's putting that deal together is also trying to acquire the old Broadway Express, which is there on the other side of IHOP. That building goes up for auction. They're going to have a public auction on that on October the 10th at the Harrison County Courthouse. He's been notified. He's going to be there. I'm sure there'll be some other bidders on that, but what he'd like to do is to include that hotel in with the project that he's proposing for the Spring Hill Suites. Let's see, other topics. I just talked about the Broadway and Express public auction. The Keesler Federal Credit Union office building that's proposed to pass through. We've heard nothing else about that. We know that it's still in the works. We've not received anything at DRC about that. And for the 41st month in a row, we've had sales tax revenues that have exceeded over $1 million, and in most cases it's been like 1.2. That's never happened in the history of Biloxi that we've had 41 months in a row where we've exceeded $1 million. The recent changes to RV parks, and this has to do with temporary RV parks, not the permanent RV parks, but what this is anytime we have a Tier 1 event, like Cruising the Coast, the people have gotten used to using their property along the beach to allow people to use that for RVs to be parked there. Some new rules go into effect this year, and that is that the property owner would now pay a fee of $50 to use their property for RVs. Also, depending on how many RVs they're going to have on the property, that would be charged at a rate of $10 per night per RV. Now, last year we had about 750 RVs in the city of Biloxi that were along Highway 90. So you multiply that times $100 a week for this, that translates into about $75,000, which helps to offset some of the cost of first responders and some of the other activities that we have to perform as a part of that Tier 1 event, and it's very costly. Plans to improve the intersection at Pass Road and Beauvoir. This would be next to the proposed Chick-fil-A. I talked to the mayor and Mike about that. That is under discussion about something to do there, but no decision has been made about what to put into that location right now. I can tell you that the Chick-fil-A location does not affect that intersection at all, other than, you know, maybe some more traffic there. But we also believe that with the new Pops Ferry extension going in, that's gonna take a lot of the stress off of some of the rest of Pass Road there. That's gonna ease some of the adverse impacts. So we're gonna be talking about this over the next 24 months and see, you know, what's needed there, just to make sure that that money is being well spent. As far as the question about the shopping carts, you write up Walmart because people are stealing from them. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, you know, we know that people take these carts. There's nothing on the books from a code enforcement standpoint that would affect that. You know, that's something that we could have a discussion about. And I'll be happy to talk with someone about, you know, what to do there to address that. We know that we see these shopping carts, you know, not just from Walmart, but Dollar General and some other grocery stores around town. And we'll address that when we can talk about that a little bit more in depth. So that's all you had for me to discuss, but I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Creed?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you had mentioned the Broadway Express and possibly IHOP, exactly what is proposed for that? Okay, exactly what are they proposing to do with it? You said some developer?
The developer that owns the property right next door that is proposing the Spring Hill Suites is very interested in acquiring that building. He is a proven hotel developer. And I can assure you that if he is able to acquire it, that you'll see a tremendous difference there on that property.
Okay, so he'll just extend on his suites over.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
It's not, in my opinion, it's not just the Pass Road and Beauvoir intersection, it's actually Pass Road and Nelson. I'm a teacher back at Pops Ferry Elementary School, and that intersection is a nightmare. School buses, parents, there's a big dip in the side of the road. If someone doesn't stop far enough back where it says, well, there used to be a sign to stop here. They come up too far, it never triggers the lights, you can't make a turn, school buses can't make turns. That's more the intersection that's the problem. Beauvoir is the traffic that keeps coming after the lights turn red, but Nelson is actually the side of the street. And I know that Pops Ferry Extension will take some traffic away, but not going to take school bus traffic away.
And there are some things that we've discussed, there are some things that we've discussed that could be possibilities there, that we could bring Nelson down and move it a little bit more to the east.
Well, right now, I mean, that dip, it needs to be fixed.
Well, and I misunderstood the term on how I didn't know that we were talking
I'm
about
just-
repairs on there, but as far as like realigning it or something, we can't make it match up perfectly with Beauvoir so that when
I know
Nelson
that.
comes down, but we can get it closer. And there's a possibility that it could be widened, we'd have to do some acquisition.
With kids being there in school bus, it is very unsafe intersection.
There's some things, yes ma'am.
And adding to what, because I used to work upstairs too. The children that have to walk, there are certain children that have to walk that don't qualify for buses.
Yes ma'am.
That concerns me. If they're walking on that sidewalk and there's traffic, there's gonna be an entrance, according to the map that's online, an entrance off of Nelson into the parking lot for Chick-fil-A.
Right in front of
People are
the,
gonna be cutting around there to get in. I mean, I think it's gonna be a big mess. And
Yeah,
I hate to see a child get hurt in order for people to understand what, you know, what I'm talking about.
We have students that live on Nelson Road
okay.
that have to walk that.
There's apartments on the other
And
side.
the apartment, Andrew's apartment, they're too close to ride the bus, they have to walk to school.
There used to be, out of that public square, they used to have to cross.
They go the back.
The access that's being proposed off of Nelson is right in front of the shopping center. And we can take a look at those things when we take a
People are
look
gonna
at.
be cutting through the school, all, I live on Nelson, up and down Nelson, I've just drove it before. But I was thinking, and I talked to Dr. Tisdale, I said, buses are gonna be, they line up about 5 or 6 of them at a time at that light. And I won't even leave my house at that time of the day, because I don't wanna be behind. And with the Chick-fil-A being there. Another thing I wanted to mention was, Papa didn't mention anything about the light at Eisenhower in Halifax,
Uh-huh.
but they're gonna build apartments on, right there.
Townhomes.
So why would you, it's gonna make traffic more so needed for that light there. I don't like going down Eisenhower all the way, especially Christmas time. I mean, that's the only way you can get out on Eisenhower sometimes. So just thought I'd say that.
We use Gulf Regional Planning. Matter of fact, I'm the chairman of the Gulf Regional Planning Commission board right now. And we use them a lot to do traffic studies for us, traffic counts. We can call them and get a traffic count like that. Right now, you're not gonna get the kind of numbers you're gonna get after those townhomes go in. So what we would do is probably do a count now and do a count once those are moving
Yeah, for the
forward.
holidays.
Yes, ma'am.
To reinforce what she's talking about, I mean, I've just noticed from my vantage point, cut through there, them lights, I'm sure it's PLC or computer controlled, those lights are manual. Right, what she's talking about, a real petty boat. And they need some top of the time grid, motion detector, like, those strap, like that would rectify the problem rather than, eliminate the light. Sure, there's gonna be more housing. Those lights are manual. There could be nobody around and you're catching a red right in front of it, was it that package store right there?
Anything like that, we have a traffic committee that meets like once a month or once every other month, just depending on whether or not we have something on the agenda. And let me give you a number. If y'all got something to write with, any request like that.
It's on the bottom of
The action zone for Craig Ross. Okay.
I don't think it would take too much to convert it to that, but it's manual.
Craig Ross, his email address is cross, it's cross@biloxi.ms.us, and the phone number there is 228-435-6279. And if you see something like that needs to be done, if you will call it in, he makes out a work order. And that work order goes to the department that needs to take a look at that. And that way there's a paper trail rather than just, talking to somebody on the phone or whatever. We keep those lists in our departments of what's being requested, so. Yes, sir.
Has there been a traffic study done before Rouse's opens? Has there been a traffic study done for Pops Ferry and Pass Road? I think I've asked Chris this quite some time ago. Do we have a comprehensive plan, or are we just going to wait for the extension and hope it's a fix-all?
Well, y'all did some traffic counts when y'all were looking at the easy lanes there, weren't you?
We
turning
did,
lanes?
we did. It was probably before the Rouses was coming, but they took into account anything. Usually when we do a traffic study, they do projected traffic. And actually, the Winn-Dixie was probably there when we did the traffic study because it would have been quite a few years ago. But probably would have taken into account any traffic that would be coming out of that shopping center.
And aren't we putting in turn lanes there at that intersection, isn't there?
Yes.
Yes, there's gonna be some other turn lanes put in all around that intersection to help ease some of the traffic congestion.
If they don't, people are going to be cutting down Rich Avenue, they're going to be cutting down Old Bay, they're going to be cutting down Palmer Drive, they're going to be trying to avoid that light. And they're going to be cutting through neighborhoods. It's already bad.
Nelson Road, I mean, it's horrible. These streets are going crazy. Still do.
Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm just curious. Did Biloxi even consider another location for that Chick-fil-A? That area up there is so congested, and now you're cutting down Live Oaks. Is there not another location for that place?
Well, I mean, these developers went out and recruited Chick-fil-A to come there. Chick-fil-A has a tremendous amount of sales every year. That was one of the things that helped trigger this. But they actually acquired Dr. Bruich's office and they acquired the bank. Those are going to be demolished. And let me just tell you about trees. I know that we get all these reports that we're out clear cutting properties and so on and so forth. That doesn't happen. Trees on private property are private property. That tree belongs to that property owner. Now, we can't stop them from taking that tree down if they're determined to take it down. The only thing we can do is determine the level of mitigation involved. So, if somebody decides to take a tree down on their property, what we would do is take a look and say, okay, because you took down that tree and the size of that tree, here's the number of trees that you're going to have to put in to replace it. We've already met with the developer. He's agreed to plant trees out in front of Rouse's because the shopping center, all of this is owned by the same people. He's agreed to plant large trees out in front of the Rouse's shopping center in those islands that are out there before this happens.
Why do we have a tree committee? Why do we have a protected tree policy?
The tree committee is an advisory committee, and what they're allowed to do, they can come to the DRC meetings, they can participate. We didn't recognize Susan Peterson here in the back, who is the chairman of the tree committee. She comes to the DRC meetings to review what's going through. The tree committee, the responsibility of the city arborist is to gather the information together, provide it to the tree committee. They have 10 days to review that information and then to come back with a written recommendation about what they would like to see happen. If it's a case where it's going to require a public hearing, then they have the right to come and speak at that hearing and let the commission know what their position is on what needs to be done. The commission will take that into consideration and then they'll vote to
I think
determine
it's
what's
important
happening.
to point out that our land development ordinance states that there's a public interest in retaining trees.
Yeah.
And this is something that I think that I've always felt this way, you know how I feel, that
Yes.
we should be doing more for conservation.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of, like I'm checking out on Facebook pages and I hear the same thing from Biloxi residents over and over and over again. Why aren't we conserving more of the old live oaks?
Okay, but that
So they
ordinance,
provide beautification, they're storm buffer, they're wind buffer, they're sound buffer, they're part of our heritage as Southerners.
the
I mean, they are the
ordinance,
iconic tree for the city of Biloxi and for the Deep South.
the ordinance that's in place says, and I don't want you to misunderstand this, we're not going out cutting down trees because we won't be cutting down trees, but the ordinance says that the purpose of that ordinance is to find the balance between tree preservation and economic development. And we've had some cases come through where this actually happened. The Hyatt Place that was built down on Beach Boulevard, originally that hotel was supposed to be on the other side of the property, on the west side of the property. And what we did is exactly what the ordinance instructs us to do, to look to move that building around on that property to the best location in order to preserve as many trees as possible. The builder, the developer, agreed to move it over to the eastern property line instead of the western property line, and it wound up saving a lot of trees on that property. That's what's supposed to happen. That's what it means by finding the balance between the two. It can't be all one way or all the other way. Just like I said, we're not going out and clear cutting properties to allow developers to build buildings. We also can't not let a developer develop his property, because that would essentially be a taking. If somebody comes in and their property is zoned for what they want to do, and they're going to meet all the setback requirements and everything else, and you tell them, no, you're not going to be able to develop that property, then you've taken that person's property without compensation. And that's just another question.
We've got a lot of unhappy residents.
I understand that. And believe me, I hear from them. I hear from them.
Yeah.
Well-
And let's go back to the traffic. I drive that road, but for 30 years I've been driving that area. It is so congested in front of where Rouse is gonna be. So congested, and I just cannot believe you're gonna add a Chick-fil-A to the corner.
Well, this is one of the reasons that we're extending Pops Ferry. This is one of the reasons we're in turn.
I
But
don't
let
see
me,
how Pops Ferry extension is gonna have anything to do with the line at Chick-fil-A.
let me mention one other thing too. Right now, we're being besieged with requests from homeowners. I'm talking about trees, with requests from homeowners. Their insurance companies are going to them and telling them, if that tree's not taken down or that tree is not trimmed back 15 feet away from the house, we're going to cancel your insurance. And I know this firsthand because our city arborist has been out on paternity leave. He just came back last week. He's been out for several weeks. So I had to become the city arborist. And you would not believe the calls that we were getting from people saying that if I can't take this tree down or I can't trim it back, they're going to cancel my insurance. And so we have to make a decision about those kind of things.
The city needs to sue the insurance commissioner because The insurance company is telling us that we have to remove something that is such a public benefit. That's hard to us.
Two
Yes,
lines.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Alright, let's circle back to the traffic on Route 6, okay? If you're if you turn off of Pass Road, you're going north on Popsicle, okay? Hinman Avenue is right there. A lot of people live back in Vegas, so that's their only turn to get, not their only, but a preferred turn to get to their neighborhood. There is no dedicated turning lane, okay? You're going to have now people coming out of Route 6 to avoid Pass Road, which I get, I wouldn't want to make a left on Pass Road, they were going to come out on Pops area. That is going to be a nightmare, and we've got to do something about that. I get that Pops area road extension is going to help, but that's 24, 36, 45 years, in the making. We're talking October 16th, Ross is opening. I'm really concerned about traffic.
Well, there's some things that we look at when those questions come up. Sometimes we'll take a look and we'll see that maybe that needs to be a right turn only, so that people coming out of that parking lot to turn north on
So
Park Street
then
Road.
they're gonna have to circle back through Trafalgar, by the school, and then they're on Nelson Road, and we've already discussed
Well,
that.
sometimes you have to determine which is safer, which is more dangerous. Is it
Well-
safer to turn north and somehow make a way around, or
Yeah.
to cross over lanes of traffic?
She would like to
and turn
piggyback on
south?
what I had to say.
So I've called this week before and asked if we could get a sign put. The problem is when you're going north on Hobbs Ferry and you're stopped right there, it's essentially, that's going from 2 lanes to 1 skinny lane, and everyone's going around you, right? So what's gonna happen is, people coming from Rouse's trying to go right, left, whatever way you let them go, they're gonna get hit. I've been told by the city several times they can't put a sign there. I don't know what can be done other than continuously expanding that and making it a turning lane to that point. Like, cause that turning lane can be open, there's 2 lanes right here because it turns into a turn lane. So I don't know what can be done, but that's gonna be the nightmare.
Well, that's something we can address in the traffic committee, and listen, we get requests like this all the time from the traffic committee to
But we're
consider
here,
what's going
this is
on.
opening October 16th. I understand there's a process for everything, I get that, I knew that probably more than a lot of people here. But October 16th is a ribbon cutting for Rouse's. This is Ward 5, this is maybe technically Ward 3, Ward 4, I'm sorry. But it's Biloxi, it needs to be that, I don't know what needs to happen, but I am very concerned about
Don't we have
this.
a traffic committee meeting?
We've got to fix that.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's going to be bad.
Yes, sir.
Yes, 2 points. One is that there was a Dell change there for several decades. It's not going to be a disaster. And 2 is that there are 2 major traffic congestion areas every day at the 2 gates at Keesler. Now, I've gotten off the interstate, and Keesler traffic trying to get back from lunch has been to the interstate. There, out 110. And here on Pass Road, I've seen it back to almost to Road. That's every day, people trying to come back.
Yes.
The base needs to address it. I asked the senior NCO when I was going through the gate once, and he just gave, unfortunately, he just gave me a flippant answer. They have big lanes that they don't open up. The one on the east has 5. Keith, the one on Pass Road has 2 lanes, they don't open them up.
Good.
And it's problematic.
We have a good working relationship with Keesler, and, traffic committee could make a recommendation, send it to them and talk to them about that.
Just small answer to that, one of the biggest problems with Keesler is that they have the same problem as the city, not enough police officers.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
However, having been in the Air Force, they don't have to be police officers, they can assign additional duties to troops, and there's 100 guys waiting to start school at any one time at Keesler that can do those duties.
Okay. Did I see one more hand over here? Let us know. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to extend on what these ladies were saying before about the traffic involving Rouse's. Now, did they do a study and an ADT to see what the traffic is and project what it may be once that store is active? And how they can make that intersection safer for people to travel on, because it will pick up once that store is open and functioning.
The Rouse's Shopping Center went through the DRC committee, which is a committee that reviews everything. And most of the people that are on this panel sit on the DRC committee to look at it from different perspectives. So it went through with the police department in there, the fire department, our department in there, taking a look at it. And, you know, the issue with Nelson is something that we probably need to take another look at.
Yes, please, it's bad.
Yes, sir.
I want to go back to cruising because I got friends and relatives that come down here. Which way they do it, I'm going to get on the police and know that. The way they do it, when they come down here, I tell them to go to Ocean Springs, y'all charging that extra rate for fees and stuff. I said, it's cheaper to go to Gulfport, you get around better. I said, if you go down on Highway 9, all you want to do is just sit in traffic. You'd be better off just sitting in the parking lot. That's all you
Well,
do.
let me answer that because we have had calls from people who said, I'm not renting my property out to anybody. I'm allowing my friends and relatives to come stay on my property. And what we put together was a letter of affidavit that the owner would sign that just says that these are not people that are paying, these are my family members. And if you do that, then you're exempt from the
I'm
fees.
still saying I'm gonna send them to Gulfport or Ocean Springs.
Okay.
Because sitting in the middle of, there's no fun sitting in traffic as well. I sit down there, we go to Miramar because I can get back there. And I sit there and all I do is see cars to sit.
Well,
I don't see no, hardly, and I know there's a reason for it.
There
That's
is.
all I want to say about it.
Yeah, Biloxi is the tourism city here on the coast. And I can tell you, we hear about Gulfport, we hear about Niagarville, we hear about Ocean Springs, but this event is centered in Biloxi. I live 2 blocks off the beach, and we sit there and watch it. I can tell you they're not going to move
Walk
to.
down the beach and sit down there and watch.
Yeah, we do, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Is the letter of affidavit on the city website?
It should be, but if it's not, if you'll contact our office, we'll shoot you one. Yes, okay. Anything else? Thank you.
Did I see Jamie Tamburo? Okay, but I neglected to mention Susan Peterson, who was on the tree committee, and my friend Mark Dubas was on the tree committee. We can almost have a tree committee meeting here. There are more tree committee members here at the meeting than there have been at the regular meetings for the past few years. By the way, some of you, how many of you don't reside in Ward 5? We usually, yeah, so that's maybe 30% of the crowd tonight. We're happy to have you. I think, no, we're happy to have you.
It's all a place you find out.
All right, next we have Christy. It looks like Levitard, and that's how some of her husband's relatives pronounce it, but she and her husband pronounce it Labata. That's a good French name. She's a city engineer. Pleased to have her here tonight. Thank you, Christy.
Good evening, everybody. We talked about Potts Ferry Extension, so I won't really add anything else to that. If y'all have any questions, you can ask what I've done. But I will give you a quick update on the Bay Vista Water Well and Water Line project. I think this is important to a lot of you here. Our Bay Vista Water Well project, it's behind Fire Station number 5. They will actually be starting construction November 4th, drilling that new well. Basically, it's just a redundant well for our system so that if we have any outages, that well's in place. It's an old well that was there before. It's been broken for years. We're gonna put it back. Kind of have some redundancy in our water system. The second thing that I think is probably y'all more interested in is the Bay Vista Water Line Replacement Project. So the Bay Vista subdivision is one of those areas, old areas of town that have old water mains in it. We have under design a project to replace all of those water mains. It will be out to bid before the end of this year. So by the time the water well is done, we should have the water line project under construction. So once we do that, that will be, that we're hoping that gets all of our transite water lines out of the ground here in West Biloxi, and we have some other subdivisions in North Biloxi that we'll be focusing on next. But that's a big deal. It's a big deal for the residents. It's a big deal for the city too, because we work very hard to try to get those lines out of the ground. They're old. They're not used anymore. They fail all the time, as y'all know, that live there. If anybody here lives there. The construction for that's probably gonna take about 12 months once it starts. We'll probably look at starting in sometimes late spring maybe, for the water lines. The other thing, the Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College Road, that road is under construction. Engineering doesn't really have any, right now it's a private road, so we don't really have any timeline on when the road itself is gonna be complete, because we don't inspect it because it's private. But the traffic signal will be starting shortly. We've already awarded that project to Powell Construction Services. They will be starting soon. We're working through the MDOT process for them we're just waiting on MDOT to tell us, yes, you've done all the paperwork correctly, your contractor can start. So that will be starting. It may take probably about 6-8 weeks to get some of that equipment in. It's, manufactured specifically for this stuff. So once that gets started, the traffic signal will go pretty quickly. What else do we have on here? The potholes, poor asphalt, and sinkholes on Pass Road. So we know that's a problem. We get lots and lots of complaints on that. Unfortunately, so the poor asphalt patch jobs are probably where people have tied in what new water service or old water service, new water service or new sewer services. Or maybe we had a main break there that Public Works had to go in and fix. Well, anytime you cut into a road, the patch never settles right. It's compacted different compaction than the existing road base. They're always a problem, unfortunately. Also, the utilities under Pass Road are old, much like a lot of the other utilities around town. They're old, and so they have holes in them, and they sink, and when they suck dirt in them, when a storm drain pipe cracks, it sucks dirt, it causes a sinkhole. So we're aware of a lot of those fixes tend to be pretty expensive. We do have a repair replace contractor that we try to go in. We haven't tackled any on Pass Road yet, but we do have a couple of them that are on the list that I think probably came from you guys that Dr. Tisdale asked us to put on the list. But we are aware of Pass Road and its condition. At some point, we're going to probably have to do a major project in a couple areas to fix those utilities so that we can fix the road back. I think that's all I have. Yes, ma'am.
Are you anticipating that the city's gonna take over ownership of that college road?
From everything they've told me, and I've asked and asked and asked, everything they've told me, they're not gonna give it to the city. Will they want to turn around? I don't know. But I've asked and they've said they're not.
That's right. I think one of the reasons is because they want to make sure that they maintain it, with landscape and everything else. And so y'all weren't inspecting that.
No, we're not inspecting it.
See,
We're not.
It has to be built, in order for the city to take it over, it has to be built to city standards. And in order for us to verify that, then Christie's people would have to inspect it as it goes along. But everything that they've told us, no, this will be their road and they'll maintain it.
Yes, ma'am.
I totally understand the need for development. Obviously, we need to bring dollars in, but it just seems like that we're putting the cart before the horse. Our infrastructure can't handle all of these new developments. That work should have been done first before bringing in all of these new businesses, because it's going to be so much more difficult to do all of this work once all of these new businesses are open all around us. It's like that concrete jungle almost.
Yes. Unfortunately, it's a chicken and an egg thing.
It is.
And it's a tough situation. And I do have to give credit to the mayor and his administration about funding for lots of infrastructure stuff. We're getting a lot of things done. It just takes time, and it's just a slow process.
Oh, I understand, because I live in Edgewater Estates where the roads haven't been done in I don't know how many decades.
Yeah, I mean, that's right, and that's the majority of the city. I mean, like, there's not enough funding available to go in and replace all the utilities in the whole city in any kind of fast timeline, unfortunately. We wish we could.
And I understand, but we knew that some of these bigger businesses were coming in. The work should have started on House Road. And developers are going to be looking at this kind of stuff too. I mean, especially when we've got big Keesler going up and all of this going on down here, and this area is already bad.
I understand. Yes, sir.
But there's no answers.
As a young college student, I worked for Gulf Paving on the summer job. That's where the Big Lake Road cans were a widening project back in the late 70s. And I had a front row seat to what the problem is at Westview, Fairway View. It's all sugar sand like that. Jerry Morgan, when he was public works director, he ran into the same problem right there at Fairview. And it's just, we put out all the well points. I'm sure you know what that is in engineering. And we just, I don't think we ever got all the groundwater. It's sugar sand all
That's
right
right.
there. That's
And
why
that
we
ti-
have all them potholes.
That's correct. All that sand, that
All
type
the
of
way
sand,
to, I
a
believe, to
small
Westview.
crack. That's right. And you can, and we video, actually in that area, we videoed the storm drain pipes in Pass
Right,
Road.
Jerry Morgan, Mr. Jerry Morgan had this
And they're
same
full of sand. So it's just
Right.
little cracks in there that are sucking sand, and that's what
And
causes
we
the
had to do it for
potholes.
the catch basins and for the sewer. We had to construct all that and the curves. And it was nothing like I've ever seen before. But that's just part of it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
We use wash sand. There's a pit on Minge Avenue. And wash sand contractors like it better because it packs better. And when it gets wet, it fills all those holes and cracks. I don't know if that pit's still open, but that's what most contractors I work with requested the wash sand to backfill.
Yes, sir.
So circling back to some of the questions on the MGCCC donation thing, just so you know, Wendy Lowley and I here at West, as I mentioned, we run the West Biloxi Development Line, something you may or may not have heard of. But if MGCCC was to change their mind, just so you know, public rights of way do go through city council, so our members are here for approval to the city to accept the road after it goes to the planning commission. Two things are required for that. One, that it has to be for the public good. That's me just saying it in a short way. And the other thing is the city has to prove that they can maintain it as well. And based on the fact that so many of you are complaining about roads today, I would argue that they can't. So if they did change their mind, you'll see a petition from us that we already have drafted to send our city council members and say, MGCCC can keep the road. Thank you. So.
Yes, ma'am.
I hate to read this Nelson Road thing to death, but when you turn off a Pass Road onto Nelson, there's a big, it was a pothole, and they've gone and put like a grate, like a steel thing, but you still bottom out, and there's no way you can avoid hitting it because there's a car sitting right there. And I'm just wondering with the extra traffic and all, I mean, somebody thought that they're here in that home.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know. It's
We'll
like-
take a look at it.
Yeah, I made a note on that. We're gonna get with the public
Yeah,
works.
it's kind
on
of
that.
a grading thing there now because, and then they did some apartment, like duplexes right down, and they chopped a big hole in the road. So now we're like,
We can take a look at it.
yeah, well, they're second it.
Christie, what department's in charge of the Pops Ferry Bridge?
Public Works Department.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Edgewater City's here. We have very bad roads. There is a sinkhole in front of my house that has been fixed, but it's sinking even further. I won't let my daughter drive, or I won't let her turn that way. I'll make her go down. On Lakeview, which isn't much better, but at least the sinkhole is big and she can see it. This one's tiny. Edgewater States has been neglected. I know it's been supposed to be next on the list, and I know it takes precedent, but we've got to allot the funds, we've got to allot the funding, we've got to make that happen. There are a lot of people here in Edgewater Estates, and we really care about our neighborhood, and our subdivision, and our cars, and our houses, and it's gotta be fixed. So, anyway, you can put that on the top of the list, that would be fabulous.
I'll do the best I can.
Is there anyone else I can talk to that I didn't put a good word in? I don't just do notes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
He tells me, so
Okay,
rest
well,
assured.
anyone else
yeah.
other than that, like, that can.
It's all dependent on the budget, you know, so it's.
I'm saying, well, it's, you know, I think it's about, it's gonna go. So it's actually.
But I'll send somebody out to look at it too. It's probably one of those places that needs the infrastructure
Well,
repair.
literally, I drove past it, to go to school, my husband called and said, did you see this in call? Like, it wasn't there 5 minutes ago. Did you see it that day? It was scary.
I'll send somebody out to look at it.
Okay. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am?
Yeah, you had mentioned the water lines before and the utility out, I live in Vegas, subdivision, and along Carter Road, on the east side, just before you get to that Vegas drive. I don't know, there seems to be a lot of trouble in that area because it seems kind of, It break down fairly frequent, if the water gets shut off. I understand because you know it's not gonna work, but it just seems like it's continuous at times.
Yeah, and once we replace these water lines, that should get a lot better.
Okay.
You shouldn't have these issues.
Okay.
Not saying we won't ever, but you shouldn't have issues
So
like y'all
maybe
may have.
down the line, it will eventually fix.
Yes.
I have two questions. I wondered, on that, MGCCC road, they made a approach lane, and there's a sidewalk there, and a lot of people use the sidewalk. What will happen?
Are they gonna put
And
the sidewalk
yeah, the
back?
sidewalk will have to be put back in. They'll just, if there's a turn lane there, they'll veer that sidewalk over and it'll just be a little further north than where it is now.
Okay, good. And, have you done the traffic study yet for the light up there?
For the light, for the road?
Yes.
They might have done that. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. The community college did it? Okay. If the community college did one, according to Dr. Tisdale.
They did do one? Is there any way we can see it, or?
Sure. Let me see if I can get my hands on a copy of it, and absolutely, I can get it to Dr. Tisdale, and he can put it on his site maybe, and that way you can have access to it.
Because we were kind of watching, and we never saw anything like that. And since we live right there at Westview, we're very concerned about getting in and out.
Right. Any other questions for me? All right, thank y'all very much. Oh, one more.
The company that's doing the water line, beach, like Blue has been a nightmare to drive over, especially at the smaller cars. Do they have any plans to come back and repave this anytime soon? They just do a patch down.
Yes, the mayor
Like
has.
Blue was February.
Yes, and actually, so that project is actually managed by Walt Brody. He's not here tonight, but I do know that he talked to the mayor. Remember the mayor was talking about it on Monday on our weekly meeting about the mayor asked for them to go ahead and repave all of those. There's a couple, Oakmont, Boulevard, all right through there. Althea, like there's a couple of, yes, the mayor has told them that they need to go ahead and repave those areas. All right, thank y'all.
As a matter of personal privilege, because I used to work with Laura, what's that sound that's made when you hit that bump on Nelson Road? When you hit, what is that? Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. All right, next up, thank you, Christy, very much. Next, we have Chief Nick Geis, but before then, Nathan, if you stand up, this Nathan Barrett is the new supervisor. You may recognize him, he's a former councilman in Ward 7. He's now the supervisor for District 5, and we're in District 5. So that's Nathan, sunglasses on his head. They're still there. All right. Nick Geis, Fire Chief. You only have one item. Right now, we're right on schedule.
Good evening. I'm Nick Geis, like you said, the Chief Fire Department. The only thing on ours is Fire Station number 5 renovations. So we are looking at all options. Currently, it's Fire Station number 5 right down the road across the street. We've got a whole plan of a renovation of that to expand. It would allow for future expansion, additional personnel there. We also have entertained the idea of leasing the current station. As y'all know, we brought in a new ambulance service about 8 months ago. So far so good from our aspect on them running. In fact, they are interested in leasing that actual station if we can find another piece of property to build a brand new station for this area. So we're looking at different options. If they ended up leasing that, it would be 2 units would be running out of that station. So you would have ample coverage for this area. Of course, they would cross lines. They aren't like us. They'll cross the city lines to cover a call in Gulfport. But But, you know, we are going to, me and Mr. Mike have been talking with the mayor. We've been having some discussions on all of our options. So that should be getting started one way or another in the near future, I would say. Is that correct, Mr. Mike?
Let's hope so.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah. Couple other things that I touched on that weren't on the agenda. Pafford EMS is our new ambulance provider. They started January 29th. So far, so good. They give us a report of raw data straight from their CAD at 2 a.m. In fact, if I don't remember to put my phone on vibrate, it's at 2 a.m. every single morning. Doesn't matter when what day of the week, or if it's Christmas morning, it's coming at 2 a.m. They are still adjusting the system, so there will be here and there some little lags in response, but it's very, very minimal. So we're very pleased with it. I don't know if, hopefully nobody in this room has had to use their services, but if you do, hopefully you saw a speedy response out of our guys and them. Starting Monday, we've actually been working with Pafford because we moved one of the 2 units that was here at Station 5 out to make room for one of their ambulances. That ambulance stays so busy at this station, it's never in the hole. So basically, we told them, hey, we're moving our unit back in to give us that additional personnel, because the personnel here are required not only for emergency response calls, fire, medical, anything along those lines. They're also responsible for maintaining the hydrants, which this is the biggest district, the most hydrants, and they do every commercial property inspection, including apartment complexes and that sort of thing. So it's rough on a 3-man crew, so we're going to give them that additional crew starting Monday. We've got 10 new recruits that started, I guess, back in middle of August 14th. So they are well on their way to becoming certified firefighters and EMTs. They're doing a great job. They're enjoying themselves, I think, other than some PT here and there, but they're doing a great job for us. The council and the mayor and CAO were kind enough, they mentioned the pay raises. But what they haven't mentioned is that they did never before in Biloxi have we done a paramedic incentive. So these guys, our minimum standard for a new firefighter is also to be EMT basic, and there's 3 levels. There's EMT basic, excuse me, got a little sinus rip. I've got EMT basic, and then advanced, and then paramedic being the top level. They're able to start an IV, they're able to read the 12 leads as they hook you up. They can do a lot more interventions, especially on those serious calls of, let's say, a cardiac arrest. Right now, we currently have 8 paramedics on the department. This incentive is going to be an annual incentive that will be paid monthly, but it is already, we'll have 2 more paramedics coming online, I think in December. We've got another one coming online towards the end of next year, and then we've increased the interest greatly of our new, especially our new guys. Speaking of our new guys, y'all probably see a whole bunch of new faces. In a 3-year time frame, we went from an average years on the fire department. It used to be 18 in 2021, 22 time frame. 18 years on the department, it has dropped to 10 years. We've got so many new faces. So they're young, they're eager, they're interested in the job, they're learning the new practices. So we're having great success with them. They're not all perfect, but they're learning and they're eager to learn. I know a lot of people talk about the new generations being lazy and that sort of thing. We have not experienced that. They've been a great asset to the department. Last thing I want to mention before I'll take questions is October is Fire Prevention Month. We'll be, you'll see stuff in the B News, the B Mail, reminding y'all to, check your smoke detectors. If you don't have smoke detectors, call our office. If you're a Biloxi resident, free of charge. We come out, replace them with the 10-year lithium smoke detectors, so you don't even have to remember to change the battery. Of course, we've got carbon monoxide detectors. If you have gas in your home, highly suggest that. at least in the kitchen, or buy a dryer or a water heater that might use it. Other than that, I'll open it up for questions. Anybody got anything? Yes, ma'am.
Why don't y'all, if you're looking for a new place for a fire department, why don't you put it on the corner of Nelson and Haslett?
Actually, if we do build a new one, we've talked about close to there, the Pops Ferry and Pass Road area in the extension area, or a little bit further down this way, maybe by the Keystone Federal new project once they get rolling. Yes, sir.
Have we seen, since Pafford took over, have we seen a decrease of having to send out fire department?
Yes, absolutely, because they're housed in our station. So what we've seen is it is saving us, like the mayor mentioned, every engine that you see rolling down the road is over $500,000 brand new. If you see a ladder truck rolling down the road, the one that we just purchased was $1.1 million, and we're about to try to get a contract for another new ladder truck that would replace each ladder truck gets 20 years of service out of it. We've got an 06 that is, it's a big old heavy beast, and it just wears and tears on them. To replace that with the platform and basket, it's $2 million. And it takes 4 years to build it nowadays. Used to be a year and a half to 2 years due to just demand across the nation. It has become a 4-year build time for a ladder truck. So we're going to try to go ahead and lock in today's rates because of the inflation and everything else for something that we need to replace in 2026, and it will actually show up in 2022. So it's an ongoing, and it's a whole lot of forecasting at this point on our part. I think the gentleman back here had a question.
I was just gonna ask, if you need some blood pressure check or something, I heard somebody say, can you go to the fire station and check your blood?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. If you want to, now, I wouldn't suggest calling 911 if you just want a blood pressure
I'm
check.
just saying.
But
Pull in tomorrow.
absolutely, knock on the front door, and they will be more than happy to check you out. If there's a medical emergency, they'll get on the horn. And
Well, I just heard, sometimes, I got a machine in the house, but I don't trust it.
yes, sir. We keep these guys so busy. What we've been talking with administration and council is actually putting something like a Ring doorbell on these stations that will at least alert dispatch to where if our guys are out doing hydrant maintenance or doing inspections, they'll know that somebody is at the station with potentially a medical emergency or even just a question where they can.
I just heard somebody say that you go to the fire station.
Yes,
And
sir.
they'll check your blood.
Absolutely.
I don't want to.
We got a bunch of young guys that need the experience. So yes, sir. Come on by anytime. Get it.
All right. That's it. When I heard blood pressure, you think you can have a couple of teams in here in March for the March board meeting, just in case?
Absolutely.
Tough run. We're really close. You got the best line tonight, Mark. That was it. All right, next we have Chief Miller's not here. He's unable to make it tonight, but Assistant Chief Chris DeBeck is here, and with him is Joey Payne. And Joey Payne, if you don't know, some of you may not know Joey, but he is now over the event coordinator. He's the events coordinator. For the previous 2 years, we had Grand for Everett, who was here, you may remember. So this is the new Grand for Everett right here, who goes by the name of Joey Payne.
Good evening. I'm going to talk about everything that's on the agenda, talk about a few other things, and then we'll discuss some other things that we had previously discussed. So first I'm going to start off with homeless. As you've seen on the west side of the old golf course, the property owner there, with the help of code enforcement, we've got a property owner there. They're starting to clean up. On Iris, on the east side of Iris, they're complete with that. If you haven't seen it, looks great. Done a lot of work. Prior to that, our teams went through with the property owner. It helped clear out the homeless that were building really houses there. we've worked with organizations, Open Doors and other places to get some of them housed, get them where they need to be and so forth, and then others didn't want to take help. So they moved on. We tracked where they were moving. As of today, there were a few that were going back to the golf course. On the west side of the golf course, the property owner's been out there mowing the grass and then starting to push east. Some of them moved back out there, so we had to go back out there and tell them, you know, look, you need to find somewhere else to go. Then just across the street, you know, back behind the apartments in the woods, we found some camps there recently. We're working on that currently around the new road and the new car wash and everything down the street. There was some stuff that came up here in the last week, and we've been out there in the last couple of days, getting them in contact with the agencies or moving them along and so forth. As far as what the mayor was talking about with the Supreme Court and the loitering stuff and everything, so that's dealing with public property. And absolutely, if they cannot camp on public property and so forth. So your question earlier was about who to contact and everything. Certainly call us, contact dispatch, and we'll get our teams out there. I'll leave my email and number and stuff. You can send me an email, and I'll get the teams out there wherever the area is at. In reference to the shopping carts, I have no answer as far as the lockup system. I think it's a great idea. But from our perspective, the police perspective, we do find that we have been able to contact some of the owners. And over the years, it doesn't happen often, but over the years, some of the owners of the cars have pursued charges for theft. And then they get their cars back and so forth. You know, standing here today, I don't have the perfect solution for it. I can just tell you what's going on. But we're going to continue doing that. We have a 4-man team that does it every day. And they're out there looking at the different people, new faces that come into town. They put them in contact, give them the information on the different organizations that can assist them. And we're trying to get every individual has a different need. We're trying to help identify that need and get them connected to the right support system. Sometimes that support system is Harrison County Adult Detention Center. So, but certainly, if you come across anything like that, let us know. Excuse me. It may be something new that our team hadn't come across. I don't know, maybe something they're in the process of dealing with. I couldn't tell you. But I'll certainly leave my email so if it comes up, or contact dispatch. As far as the traffic committee meeting, it is Thursday. We have several things on the agenda. With ma'am in the pink shirt there, right beside. Where exactly on Pops Ferry are you talking about the sign?
So, it's, you know where like you take a right to get into the new Rouse's, you have to pass up the Goodwill and the Planet Fitness to go in the front way.
Yes,
Instead of going like off the Pops Ferry side, it's the Pops Ferry way. So it's right there, like if you're going north and you're taking a left at that Pops Ferry pass red light, and you pass those Starbucks, there's that it's the first turn into the Vista neighborhood.
Right.
And it's kind of like, it goes from a 2-lane to where it goes into a 1-lane, and there's like lines on both sides. But people just like constantly, they fly around you on the right side. And so it just is dangerous.
But it's right there at Hinman, right?
Yeah, it's Hinman, and I don't know if there's even a street, like, it's just that right into that complex.
Kind of right by the Smoothie King is right there too.
I'll make sure we talk about it this Thursday. I can tell you the Nelson issue, it moved off, that whole misalignment and everything. I don't know who designed it back in the day, but we've talked about it a lot. So hopefully we, as a city, we can come up with something that fix it. Mr. Krill talked about the acquisition of property, and there's been several ideas thrown out there that might help. But that intersection absolutely needs fixed. I mean, you come out of Jimmy John's and you're backing from their driveway into the middle of the intersection. So absolutely don't disagree with you. Something needs to happen. As far as the Pops Ferry Sports Complex, the parking. Me and Sherry actually talked about it today. and we're gonna have officers out there, we call it signal lining for them, but looking for that parking, trying to get them parked across the street and helping facilitate that traffic. We got the football game scheduled today, so that's in the process. We also talked about, we also talked about she's getting some no parking signs put up out there, so hopefully here in the near future, those signs will be up, hopefully this week, but I don't want to promise that. As far as, I know the mayor had mentioned Hurricane Helen. Yes, we've all seen it. It is Apalachicola that is projected. We all know overnight that can change in a heartbeat. So I just want to mention it, be aware of it. It is supposed to hit around Thursday evening over there as a Category 3. So just as we always do, keep watching for it and make sure you're ready and prepared and everything else. And certainly if you need something, give us a call. Talking about our staffing. So we have 7 officers, new officers 10 new officers in field training right now. 7 of those just graduated the academy on Friday, so they're brand new. And then we have 8 that are going the beginning of October to the academy. That leaves us with still about 13 spots that are open. So if you know anybody interested in law enforcement, it's a great city and great agency to work for. You can go on the city website and download that application. Give us a call. We have a recruiter that'll take you through every step of the way. Dispatch is our other need. They not only dispatch for us, but they dispatch for fire as well. We currently have 6 in training dispatchers, and then we still have 7 open positions. So if somebody's interested in that, please let them know. Same process, and get you hooked up with a recruiter, and they'll take you through every step of the way. And then the other thing I made a note of is talking about Keesler, the gate, 2 lanes. I don't remember who was making that comment. So, we do have a good work relationship with Keesler, and I can certainly check with them, and at least during peak times, that they open those two lanes. I know exactly what you're talking about. Might aid in some of that congestion on Patch Road. But I made a note, so I'll get with them about that. As far as crime in the area for the last 90 days, I sent out I had that sheet at the table if you picked it up. We had a total of a little over 3,600 calls for service in the area. A lot of those were extra patrols. When we say extra patrol, we're either checking on a business, checking on a home, somebody's out of town, or it could be checking on some of those vacant properties dealing with the homeless issue. And a lot of traffic stops in the area. As far as the actual offenses or crimes, there was a lot of, I say a lot, there were 37 narcotics violations, and then there was, of course, with the mall and Walmart, most of those crimes were related to shoplifting. But overall, not too bad as far as the work goes over a 90-day period. I know I covered a lot of ground, and as far as cruising and events, as soon as I get done with questions, I'm going to bring up Captain Payne, who that's all he does, events and stuff. So he'll be able to answer any question better than I. So you have yes, sir.
I just want to compliment that police officer you have on the motorcycle on Pompera Road or Pass Road. He's doing a heck of a good job.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that, and I'm glad you brought that because I missed one point.
That guy is he's making the city a lot of money.
Yes, he is.
I wanted to bring up.
Bay Road especially, it's been often vouched, but it's been a problem for years.
Yeah.
It's something that's seeing light at the end of the tunnel now, especially right by the Pennzoil Park right there where the kids play and stuff. It's crazy, but
Yes,
it's constantly, Laura saw them recently running radar, and it's helping.
Well, and I appreciate you mentioning that because there's one point I forgot. Going back to the traffic committee as well as speed in the neighborhoods and everything. I know Old Bay, you talk about cut-throughs, Old Bay, places like that, we all know. It is like a raceway. Even coming down Potts Ferry, it's like a raceway. But we have a list, right? And we have to kind of rotate where we're at, as far as the traffic unit. Plus they have additional duties that sometimes that takes them from those enforcement duties. But we rotate through there. Part of it, Old Bay is on the list. So we're trying to, with the small unit that we have, we're trying to hit all those areas around the city. Talking about manpower, one of our strategic plans is to increase so that they're right now they work Monday through Friday. We want them 7 days a week covered, so there'll be 2 squads. Well, as soon as some of these new people get cut loose on the road, trained properly and everything else, we'll be able to do that. We'll have the manpower to stretch it out. So that is part of our strategic plan. I'm glad to hear that the small things we're able to do is helping. But those areas came from all of you. And we want to hear about it. So if there's additional areas you don't see that in, certainly let us know. On the traffic committee, we look at, I can tell you, I don't know exactly what's on the agenda, but I know there's some stop sign placement, there's some speed reduction in certain neighborhoods, or, you go to some neighborhoods and this street's 25 and this street's 15, trying to make it, more even, things like that. And I'm sure there's a speed bump or two in there. There always is.
Always.
And then the other thing is that what we mentioned about Eisenhower, that new neighborhood. So we'll make sure that we bring those up, talk about them, start the dialogue, and see what we can do. What would be the best way to handle it? I'll use speed bumps for example. To come to the traffic committee, you have to do a petition through your neighborhood, because we've experienced in the city where we go and put speed bumps in, and then 3 weeks later we're pulling them up because 90% of the neighborhood didn't even want them, and they were ineffective. The other thing is, if we put something like a speed bump in the middle of the road, we could be, as a city, we could be liable for damage and stuff. So we have to be. That's why we talk about it. We have these committee meetings to see what's the best way to approach. Maybe a stop sign is not the best answer. Maybe a yield sign is, or maybe it just depends on the situation. So as a group with engineers and code enforcement and police and public works and everybody else, we put our heads together, look at the problem, and try to figure out what the best solution is before we just go spend money and install something. Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate you circling back to all the questions that we had here and answering them. I really do. As far as the block property and Irish Street and all of that, it's starting to look a lot better. You've already mentioned that there's been homeless that have come back. And so what are we going to do to prevent that from happening again?
So what we're doing in connection with code enforcement is, so like across the street, I mentioned some of the wooded areas. We get with the property owners. There's different things we can look at to clean up the property with their assistance, meaning code enforcement and the property owner. And then on the law enforcement side, we're trying to put them in contact with, whether it's family, Open Doors, some other kind of homeless organization that can help facilitate whatever their needs are, whether it's getting back home to family, getting a job, mental health issues, things of that nature. But we try to, with each contact, I'll say, we try to impress upon them, look, this is public property, this is private property, you can't do this here, you can't do that there. Lay out the rules, and like I said, some of them end up going to jail. But then some of them get the help. So we try to work with them as much as possible to find out what that individual needs, because you fill up the jails, that's not what they all need.
Well, I think I'm meaning more like the property owners taking care of their property so it doesn't get overrun. It never should have gotten to that point.
That's where we're getting assistance from our code department and trying to maintain it as a city, as a team, and working with the property owner to do it effectively, efficiently, and key though, so.
One other thing that's helping us too with that is just like we were talking about the insurance companies. These insurance companies are telling property owners, get those people off your property. That is a liability problem for you, and it represents a risk, and we don't want to take that risk. So
Well,
that's
also that's
also,
for the city too, to be letting that happen.
yeah, that's
Well,
also helping.
I can't let my property go like that.
Yeah, so
Y'all
the,
come out and write me up, so I mean, they need to be accountable for, just for code enforcement issues.
you're
not
absolutely
insurance.
right, but the insurance, like Mr. Creel said, that with the insurance company, that's really helped us push, with these property owners. Some of them, it was, you know, it was like beating your head on a door or something, but you're absolutely right. We need to, if you're coming down Pass Road, you need to see better looking property, whether it's vacant property or houses there, or trees there, you know, whatever it is.
I don't need to see homeless every time I do my neighborhood in the morning.
I agree with you.
And I appreciate you have answered emails before. He is true, he will email you back, and he's very good about that, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Sorry, man.
Yes,
Sorry.
Okay, I have a couple of questions, and one off topic. Now, the city of Biloxi made law that these trucks that come here, and they have that front end so jammed up high that they can't even see.
Okay, so, yeah, that's called California squat. And our state legislator, thankfully, passed the law this year. It went into effect July 1st. So, but we cannot enforce it for, correct me if I'm wrong, 1 year.
It's, we can enforce it, just after January.
Okay.
So, we can stop for it in warning.
Yeah. So beginning of the year, we can start enforcing it. So let's take the scraping events. We'll probably be towing a lot of vehicles, is all I got to say.
Yeah.
From out of state.
I've seen severe accidents happen.
So we worked for several years, not only our agency, but several agencies throughout the state to get that law, the legislators passed. It passed, it's on the books. We just got to wait until January to enforce it.
On that point, out-of-state vehicles that come in squatted, does it impact out-of-state vehicles that are passing through as well?
Yeah, it does.
Great.
So, yes.
Okay. Each school used to have their own resource officer with the police department. Is that still the case?
So the school system back in,
I think it was my last year there.
Dr. Tisdale, the superintendent, they have their own police department. We did create an MOU this year, which involves one officer and what we call an intel analyst. We help with background checks and things like that. We're still working on getting that finalized and getting the person there. The Biloxi officer works with their school program. But they do have, and I couldn't tell you how many or where they're located at. They have their own police department, they have their own officers, and they have supplemental security guards as well, both armed and unarmed.
The reason I asked is, I did a little work in Biloxi after I retired from Biloxi, and they had their resource officer sitting out front of the school in the morning with the lights on, and you should see everybody slow down. And then again in the afternoon until those flashing lights that they had would turn off. And I thought maybe that's something they could try. I don't know what's going on with the cop police, but it really seemed to slow them down. And I kind of, I have a thing about Nelson Road. I mean, I'm just good, the speakers. I just do. And I live there. Thankfully, I don't have any young children that would be out there riding bikes or anything. But they fly through there, and they shortcut now. You wait till Rouse is over.
Yeah, so we, especially during the beginning of the school year, as far as traffic goes, we work a lot with them. We'll put additional officers in the zones to help them to remind people school is open. There's certain times throughout the year they'll request assistance like that. And then, for instance, this past week, you had the social media thing that was going on in the schools, and we sent additional officers to help support them. But we do work closely with them. Anything they need, whether it's something like that or some investigation that got going on, we help them out.
There's a car going down there in front of my house last night, and this field is 15, where I live. And she must have been going about 40. And she was like, whoa.
That's
and I'm
awesome.
like, where's the cop? I don't want one.
that's something else.
Yeah.
He has a-
All due respect, do you know how many years I've been before you talking about the golf cart issue?
I know, and it's
4
something,
years.
it's
4
something we
years,
battle.
year after year after year, I'm here with the same complaint.
We have 140 that are registered in the city as of this week, and there's probably another 200 that are unregistered. Absolutely.
I've only seen 2 stickers. I looked for the stickers. I've only seen 2.
There's 140 registered as of this week.
Well, I follow your instructions. I called dispatch. And I don't want to call PD. That's like me calling Stafford for a Band-Aid. You know, I don't want to call y'all out for, but it is an ordinance, and it's not being enforced. And I saw recently Ocean Springs had a problem with their golf carts. I don't know what they're doing, if they're changing the ordinance or they're cracking down on it. But if I have to come here year after year after year with the same complaint, the last time I called for an officer, he came through the neighborhood. I saw him come, and he never came out. So I'm like, well, he's been here a long time. I went and looked for him. You know where I found him? He was sitting chewing the fat with the owner of the drug growing house. Now, you can't make that stuff up. And I mean, you got kids, these carts aren't insured. I haven't seen but 2 that have a registration. And you don't know if they're insured or not. You got 4 or 5 kids hanging off a cart going around the corner at 35 miles an hour, and they're all over the place. No idea the rules of the road. So either we enforce the ordinance or we need to remove the ordinance. I mean, it's 4 years we've been putting up with this.
I understand. We do register and we do tow. We have made arrests. We have issued citations. I don't have any of those numbers with me today, but I can tell you that as of this week, we have 140 that are registered, and there probably is another 200 that are not registered.
Well, if we start enforcing, the parents are going to get the message and start parking these golf carts in the garage and don't let the kids use it. It's out of hand.
I wish that was correct, but we've arrested a parent twice for the same thing, and they don't get the message.
Well, we need to remove the ordinance. It's obvious, it's not being enforced, and the parents are letting the kids loose. We need to remove this ordinance if it can't be enforced.
They're all over our hill now. The golf carts are, they're not supposed to be, and that's like a drag strip from Iberville east.
Right.
Somebody's gonna get hurt. There needs to be more patrol for speeding on that street because, it's horrible.
Yes, ma'am.
So can you add that to the list, please, Irish Hill?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I stopped an officer on patrol, and I told him there was one in front of him, and there was one in front of him, and he went around the block like Stevie Wonder. There was one in front of him and one behind him. He didn't see either one of them. And the last officer I called, he was sitting at the drug grower's house chewing the fat. Not Jim. This was a guy that was growing weed in his house.
Okay. Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
I heard that police wages were raised, is that true? And then the second
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Police wages went up, is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me by how much?
The starting pay went from about just over 40,000 to 48.3, which is average for the region.
That's great, wonderful. And then the second question is, are the traffic committee meetings posted online anywhere?
We are not right now, but I can get with Craig Ross and see. Craig Ross is the contact for setting up the meetings.
Craig Ross.
I can get with him and see what his plans are.
What time tomorrow?
It's at 3 o'clock, but it's 3 o'clock.
Hey, Chief.
I think it's 3 o'clock.
Chief, I admit I planted that question, wages.
It is at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Do you have any other questions? I do appreciate everybody's time, and if you have anything, I'm going to leave my cards right there. I'll be here. I apologize. I forgot about it. And Captain Joey Payne's going to come up and talk about cruising. Our plans is coming up. It's here, and the actual event process. But
So our traffic plan for cruising is gonna be similar as it was last year. Friday morning at 3 a.m., we're gonna be dropping the cones. And as soon as we get to our traffic starts backing up, we have a little formula that me and Nancy, the commander, which is my major, will ride around. As soon as we get to a point where it takes us 30 minutes to get from a point A to a point B, we start enacting the one lane. We do that as because the first responders need to get to certain places in that event area. I know it's a burden on our residents. For the people that live in that event area, we have told our officers that we put it out briefing. If you come up to one of those streets and you say, "I live down there," we're going to let you back. And if that doesn't happen, call Dr. Tisdale and we will address it.
Those of you that you know who you are, who get neighborhood passes, I'll be getting those to you in the usual manner several days before the event starts, just so you have.
So the traffic plan is not changing. It's going to be like it's been in the past. That's the one way we can ensure public safety resources to our citizens in the city. And there's no way for us to reduce the traffic. The one way is getting NDOT involved and adding a third lane on Highway 90, east and west. So you see how long it's taken for Pops Ferry 45 years ago. So we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. If y'all have any questions about the event coming up, besides the lady in the back of this kid, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I have a question about the new vendor, what is it?
Vendor permit application, special vendor permit application.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm with a nonprofit who's going to be in an event. So we're not even selling anything, but I guess I need to get that paperwork.
If you're not selling anything, vendor permits are only for money exchange, product
But if
exchange.
somebody brings us a donation, like we have a jar.
That's still a little different, correct, Mr. Jerry? Yes.
Is that so I have to fill out?
No. All you have to do, you won't have to get permitted, but you'd have to show, because if you're working in a special event, now it has to be considered a special event. If
It's a quality fest over there.
No, that's not, that is considered just an event in the city. It does not,
Okay, 'cause
it
they
does not
sent
draw
us-
resources from the city. So
Yeah.
therefore, it does not fall under the special event ordinance.
Okay, the organizers sent that paperwork.
Because they did it first, because we didn't know if it was going to extend. So they filled out the event application. I called the organizers after we looked at everything, because they did a really good job on their application. And it's not going to exceed the purpose of that property, and it's not going to draw resources from the city, so it does not fit the special event ordinance.
Perfect, thank you for that, okay.
So, good question.
Any traffic plans for passway for that cruising?
As of right now, that is a road that we monitor. If we have to move resources up there, we will. But it's hard to control 90 with the limited, it takes us about 158 officers to run cruising the coast during those 3-day events. 85 of those are ours. As you know, we're short, so it varies some days. But with the county and Highway Patrol and actually Department of Marine Resources coming to help us with this event. So that is a road we monitor. If we start having a traffic issue, we will transfer some resources there to try to mitigate some of the traffic. But our main concern is keeping Pass Road moving. Highway 90 moving. Good question. I know it backs up and it's
It's horrible.
Yes, sir.
We've never seen any police presence to help move it.
Now, our normal patrol officers, they're still out and about, and
Couldn't get to us.
Yeah.
well, that event, those events, as long as you're not injured, even our officers that are off and our officers that are on duty, you can't take vacation when we have these major events. So we try to be full staff except for vacancies. So to handle some of that.
I'm just curious, it was my understanding that the Pops Ferry Bridge is not supposed to open under certain times, but that's been ignored in the past years. Is that going to start being enforced again? I know it's not your department or...
I
it used to be that the bridge, because of, I think, pretty much school traffic and buses, I mean, it wouldn't open for an hour. Typically, when school buses were coming and going, generally, that was years ago. Now, I've lost touch with all that. So in the last couple of years, I don't know if that's the case or not.
Sorry, I wasn't familiar with that.
That's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And to piggyback off my neighbor, traffic on Pass Road may be moving as far as you see it moving, but to turn onto Fairview, traffic is backed up to Keesler, backed up to Big Lake Road. I have to turn on Fairview. I can't turn on Fairview, so I have to go all the way down, and I have to go all the way back, and then it's just, and it happens Christmas time, cruising the coast, scraping the coast, spring break events. I mean, it backs up well into the neighborhoods, and I worry about when Keesler decides to expand. I mean, that is horrible for us. I know there's just a few of us that live back there, but it's impossible to get back. It's on the way in, it's on the way out. I can't get out of my neighborhood. I can't leave. I have to go to Goose Point to turn around, and then that's a whole problem. And I have to get back in the traffic. It is traffic may be flowing, you may see traffic flowing, but for the people who live here, it takes me 20 minutes to get out of my neighborhood.
It's terrible, and it goes back to infrastructure. So our city, what was it, 10,000 vehicles? What was it study? Like 10,000 something? Yeah. So, but even when that backs up, it backs other streets up. I can't remember what it was. So, we can only handle so many cars in the city before things start to gridlock and back up. The best that we can do a lot of times is just keep, and I know it backs you up in the neighborhoods, is keep the traffic moving as best as possible. And sometimes it is a problem. Sometimes it's an inconvenience. But the only thing we can do, because we can't take the car and put it where it won't fit. So when we have an influx of people, traffic's gonna back up. And there's not much we can do but just keep the traffic moving. There's no good answer. It's just the infrastructure of the city.
Like, for instance, is there a plan for Edgewater Estates when you only have those two in and out areas?
Well, that's one of our during major events, that's one of our neighborhoods we put officers in. We put officers at the entrances.
Because you would literally almost have to go drive around the golf course just to get into the neighborhood somehow.
It's Edgewater Park, Edgewater.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. My bad.
Yeah. So when the traffic is all backed up on Pass Road, there's no way to get into the neighborhood if you're an emergency vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the answer is to that. If there's a plan to try to access from the golf course or.
Emergency response, we're going to try to get there the easiest route to get there.
Because you can't separate the cars.
Right.
It's not an answer for this year, but we have taken into account that, all events are going larger and larger, and we have to expand our footprint. Historically, when I first started, it was Mardi Gras. Unless you're laying in the bed dead, you were there working. But over the years, we've added more and more events, and they continuously grow. So we're actually going to have to expand our footprint, but as campaign said, that all entails manpower. So as our department grows, and we do have a strategic plan for that, as our department grows, and as we have part-time officers we bring in from other departments as well, as we grow that program, MHP just started coming down last year. So as we continue to grow our numbers, we can expand that footprint to cover these events. Not just 90, because absolutely that was our main priority, safety and keeping traffic flowing. But we do know that we have to expand the footprint, and that is going to take some time as we grow the numbers.
And that's what happened to me last year, maybe the year before. I was going east on Pass Road, and they wanted me to turn down Eisenhower. I'm like, that's my street. Literally, that's my street. You gotta turn. I'm like, that's right there. And I, of course, they the law, I'm gonna go, but I'm 35 minutes later, I'm still not anywhere close to my home, going in the wrong direction. I'm going into the the cruising traffic. I'm
I'm
trying to
sorry,
stay away
what road were you on, was that?
I was on Pass Road. I was
Pass Road,
going
you-
east on Pass Road.
and
I was
you're trying to turn
get-
down Eisenhower?
I was trying to get past Eisenhower, and when the traffic go down Eisenhower.
Okay.
I had to go.
And that's.
And I know, and I appreciate everything y'all do, and I'm not, I mean, this is
Well,
small,
but it is unacceptable.
but it's,
And it's something that we address with every.
I'm trying to avoid the traffic, I'm trying to, and I'm, you know.
It is unacceptable for an officer to do that. And we do talk to them at the beginning of every event, we have briefing and everything else, and explain to them, look, you're out there 12, 14 hours, you're frustrated and everything else, but we have residents that need to get places. You know, try to use compassion and understanding.
We actually were trying to get the golf course to go to Glen Meadows.
It shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But we address them as they come.
No, I know, and y'all do a great job, it's not for lack of trying, y'all do a great job, and we're trying to do a great job too, and it's just, you know, there's a lot of disconnect in between what works, looks good on paper, what looks good in talking, but actual practical, it's not working. And I mean, we pretty much-
We've developed all this, actually, this traffic plan came from Atlanta, and we've developed it, tweaked it to fit Biloxi for 20 years now.
I mean, my kids, we laugh, but it's fire pit. I mean, we stay out by the pool, we just don't go anywhere because we can't.
That's a bad part.
You know, and I love Biloxi, I'm not gonna leave, I love my house, you're not gonna run me out of my home, but it is very problematic for us.
Any other questions? Okay, good.
Does anybody want to, we're into this by 2 hours now. Does anybody even want to hear from the chief administrative officer for the city? Anybody have a question for him? Good, you're dismissed. Thank you. I appreciate you coming out, Mike. And again, if you don't receive my e-blast but would like to, be sure